Hi y'all, Bearded Rogue here. It's been a while since I recorded anything, but I was away at Origins. Origins is probably my favorite game convention, and that hasn't changed. But it's very different traveling to convention via plane than it is via car. I'm very glad that I went to BGG Con last year to get my first experience of going to convention by plane, so that I had a little bit more idea of what I was in store for. But it's been almost a week since Origins was over with, and I'm just now sitting down to record this because of all the things I had to catch up on and finish up and just getting back into the normal swing of things in order to go back to day-to-day life. So let's start covering Origins in general. This will just be an Origins in general video, and then I'll have probably one video for my haul, one video for design type stuff, and we'll see if there's anything else that needs to happen in that in the course of things that means that I need an additional video. So, Origins was fantastic. From start to finish, it was a very, very wonderful convention. I got to see more people at Origins than I ever have. There were a lot of people who came to Origins for the first time. Now that the numbers have come back, it was one of the biggest Origins of all time. It and UK Game Expo are currently fighting over the spot for number 3, largest convention behind Gen Con and Essen, of course. But it was really good. The dealer hall, the vendor hall was really good this year. Lots of companies were there showing off their product and demoing their product. Some companies that hadn't been there in a while, some companies that had never been there. There were some companies who were always there in the past who weren't there this year. But for the most part, a lot of people showed up. A lot of people came. Asmodee even had a presence, which is impressive, since Fantasy Flight Games usually gave Origins a complete and total pass in the past. So having an actual Asmodee presence there was pretty cool. A lot of the other usual players were there. I really missed having a Z-Man specific booth. I really missed Plaid Hat. They were two of the noticeable people who were missing, also part of the Asmodee conglomerate. But overall, there were plenty of people there. Like, we weren't hurting for places to buy things. The main hall was open a little bit longer this year, which was really cool. It wasn't open later, but it was open one more day. Like, it actually opened on Wednesday, which is normally just setup day. So that was kind of cool to actually have a part of the convention open on setup day, where you could actually buy things in game and stuff like that. That was pretty neat. I went this year with IDW. I was in their booth demoing their games, primarily Sherlock Holmes, and just hanging out, selling product. I love the IDW crew. It's changed since last year. It's pretty much a whole new crew, but they're very committed to really establishing themselves and knowing what their upcoming lineup looks like. I think this is the year that IDW is going to establish itself as not just a comic book company or a company that puts out games that are licensed IP, but a legitimate game company. Nate, who's no longer with them, who's now at Indiegogo, set a really good framework. Daryl, Spencer, and Ross, who have taken over in that regard, have inherited a really good slate of games and have done a lot of their own work in making sure that IDW's future looks really, really strong. With a Avatar game that they just announced as a strong IP game, Sherlock Holmes, Saikatsu. They're doing a reprint of Torres. IDW, their future looks really, really bright, and I'm very, very happy for them to see that they're kind of defeating that stigma of being the one of the IP-only companies. It also helps that their IP games are really good games in their own right, rather than Just slap a license on something for money. That being said, this was the second year in a row I was with them. I also was with them at Gen Con last year. I am not going to be with them at Gen Con this year, which kind of makes me sad because I've established a bit of a rapport there with those guys. But they're an awesome company to work for. They took really good care of us as staff. We weren't overworked. It was great. I can't say enough about working for IDW. If you get a chance to work for IDW at a convention in the future, I highly suggest you take it. They definitely take care of their people, and that's only going to get better now that they have all of the new people in place, and they'll have an opportunity to get used to everything and get their feet. Like Ross, who was at the booth, was absolutely fantastic, but started work Monday. So he's just now, like, the Monday before Origins, and he was there Wednesday. So they're just now getting their feet under them, and I'm really encouraged to see what they do going forward. The after hours scene was cool as always. The Baron 2 was pretty hopping, like usual. One of the things I will talk about here that could be part of the designer section, but I want to highlight it as one of the things that really made Origins for me, is that this year they had an official Unpub room. And that made a huge difference for me. Origins has decent amounts of open play tables, and there's all sorts of other places like the Baron 2 in the Hyatt and various other locations that you can play games. You're not hurting for table space. But it's really intimidating to go into the main hall and set up a prototype and try to draw players over when everybody's playing the brand new hotness that they just purchased, or everybody's playing the games that they only get to play at conventions. You know, it's really intimidating as a new designer to set something up and hope for players. Like, you either already have to have players, or, you know, you have to work it in amongst all of the other games. Having an unpub room where it's just understood that everybody's going to be playing unpublished games is phenomenal. It also made the publisher speed dating better. The publisher speed dating was held in there instead of in a small little room in some corner of the Hyatt somewhere that was really hard to find. All the designers knew where the Unpub room was, and it was very highly advertised that it was going to be there, and the speed dating was held there, and it fit perfectly. I'm super excited to see this continue going forward. I think the Unpub room is a fantastic addition to Origins, and it will cement its place as my favorite con. I was on Board Game Design Lab, for those of you who haven't listened to that episode. If you're at all interested in being a designer at a convention and what you should have or what you should know ahead of time, I recorded about an hour-long podcast, I think, on that with Board Game Design Lab, so you can hear more of my thoughts there. But Unpub in Baltimore, the Unpub Prime convention, is by far my favorite design convention. Origins has quickly jumped up to slot 2 now with the Unpub presence there. It's fantastic. Gen Con is not as good for unpublished designers. The First Exposure Playtest Hall and various other events try to make it more welcoming, but you're competing with all of the biggest names in the industry at the busiest week of the industry. So Origins is really a much better place for that, and the Unpub room really improved that. The speed dating really improved that, and I spent a lot of time in the Unpub room. I played a ton of games. We'll get more into what I played in the design side of things, because most of what I played was unpublished games. And so we'll talk about that when we get to that video. Let's see, what else? Origins overall. Well, one thing I do have to talk about is a story that goes from one Origins to another Origins, and is actually really fun. Just a second. I need to grab something here. So, last year, as I said, I was with IDW Games, and I was demoing Cat Tower, specifically. And Cat Tower, for those of you who don't know, is a game about stacking cats. It has some of the most adorable artwork in the history of ever, done by the designer. of the game. Also the designer of Kitty Paw. Also, I believe, the designer of Shiba Inu House and Circus Puppy and a whole bunch of other games with gorgeous, adorable animal artwork that are really fun. Cat Tower was a blast to demo. And on one of the days of Origins, I actually had the opportunity to demo for a cosplayer who was wearing a full Khajiit outfit. Now, the Khajiit, for those who don't know, is a fantasy race of cat people from the Elder Scrolls, Morrowind universe. And she was fully decked out in Khajiit gear and managed to play Cat Tower with her gloves on and everything, her little feline gloves. And it was amazing. It was so much fun, and I asked her if I could get a picture, and she acquiesced to that request, and we put it up on the IDW Twitter, and I broadcasted it. It was so cool to be playing a Cat Tower game with a cat person. But as she was walking away, she handed me something. This right here, Basic Adventuring 101, is a web series that she stars in and directs. It's a web series about a bunch of people engaged in a LARP, and it cuts back and forth from both the fantasy reality to the real world, like LARPing reality. It's a fantastic series. If you followed me on Twitter for a while, I have tweeted about it. I am almost certainly going to tweet about it again once they announce their Season 2 plans. But Season 1 is complete. They ran the first 7 episodes shortly after Origins last year, and then re-released them shortly before Origins this year, along with Season 8, along with Episode 8, the finale. I highly encourage that you watch them. They are very good. But as they were re-releasing them, they were holding contests for people, and I managed to win a contest. In this case, I managed to win the contest, and they brought me my prize at Origins. So, I have 2 arrows here. One, the arrow from the quote-unquote real world, the LARP, that's a more crude fashioning with hot glue and everything, just to give the impression of an arrow, the kind that you would actually use in a LARP. And then one with an actual tip on it, and very amazing spiral fletchings. It's very, very well put together, and this is the one that they used in the scenes where the ranger was in the fantasy world, where the fantasy world was live. So I actually won these, and they brought them to me at Origins. Gave me my my prize there. I had to ship them back to myself because I wasn't about to try to bring this on a plane. But for an extra little tidbit, the ranger character's name in the show is Tony. So kind of funny that I ended up with them. But what's even funnier is that this year, they brought me my prize and then promptly sat down to play Sherlock Holmes with me at the IDW booth. So, from one Origins to another, 2 cat games, 1 web series, and an amazing cosplayer dressed as a Khajiit. So, you know, you never know who you're going to meet at Origins or what they're doing. If somebody hands you a flyer, check it out. Like, there's probably something cool there. You're going to meet a lot of cool people at Origins, even if they aren't the people you initially set out to meet. And none of that could have happened had I not been demoing a cat stacking game. It's just one of those wonderful things that happen in life. So I'm very, very happy that I got to meet them. I'm very, very happy that I got to share their web series. Winning their contest was an extra added bonus, and I'm going to be proudly displaying these on my nerd shelves as soon as I can find a way to put both of them in a 2-tier type display. I want to display them both at once. But they'll be with my Kevin Owens figure and my my giant imp from Gamelin Games back in the day, and all of that stuff. So yeah, so I'll be adding that to my shelf, and I'm really excited have that happen. So yeah, Origins was great, guys. You'll hear more about what was great about it in a couple of other videos, but I'm going to go ahead and end this one because we're at about 15 minutes and don't want to talk your ear off all at once. So, Bearded Rogue signing out.